Yes, sir. You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? So please welcome me and have a seat right over here. Have a seat.
Good morning, Mr. Searcy.
Good morning.
Do you know that lady there, far right-hand part of the table?
Yes,
Who is she?
Jodi Arias.
And how do you know Ms. Arias?
I met her through time when she was in prepaid group in the leadership.
Okay. And how long have you been involved in leadership with prepaid group?
About 7.5 years.
Okay. And through that time, I would assume you've come to know lots of people within that company, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know an individual by the name Chris Hughes?
Yes.
Okay. Is he a friend, acquaintance, a business associate? How would you describe your relationship with him?
Business associate, friends.
Okay. Your Honor, if I may approach? Exhibit number 1 for the purpose of this hearing. You take a look at that and tell me if you like that.
Yes.
And what is that, sir?
It's a copy of the text message that was sent.
I would request that this be entered in as an exhibit under seal since Mr. Hughes is phone number on the display of the
All right, Exhibit 1 will be admitted for purposes of this hearing only and will be maintained under seal.
Now, hand this back to you if you need to refresh your recollection at all. Do you recall contacting my office in early January?
Yes.
And subsequent to that, you and I spoke, I believe, on the 12th of January, correct?
Correct.
When did you receive that text message? Do you remember what day? Or if you need to look at it, please do.
The next day.
The next day, the 13th?
Correct.
Okay. If I may approach you, Angel. Why don't you do that just for clarity, since the picture's a little blurred. We will be submitting a clear picture at a later time.
Are you waiting for me?
I am.
Oh, I'm sorry. What are you waiting for?
Did you find it?
I'm just going through there.
Okay. I'll let you find it before we proceed.
Okay.
All right. Let me ask you that question again, just for sake of clarity in terms of what I see and what you see. What day did you receive that text message?
It says here on January 15th.
Okay, January 15th. So that would be 3 days after we spoke, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the subject matter, or what was Mr. Hughes asking of you in this text message?
It said, heard you are on Jodi's witness list list. Any idea why?
And did you end up speaking with Mr. Hughes about this?
Well, my response was, call me too much to text. And he said, cool, after 12:30. So then there was another more text back. But anyway, he called me later that day.
Okay. And the two of you spoke, correct?
Yes.
And what did he, do you have any knowledge of how he knew you were on the witness list?
Well, I asked him because I didn't know I was on the witness list. And so I asked him, how did he know that? And he said something to the effect that he was working with the prosecution and they had talked to him and he was watching TV and he feed some information or something like that. And so I was pretty surprised because I had no idea what was going on.
Okay. Did he tell you, when he said he was working with the prosecution, did he tell you who specifically he spoke to? Did he say the prosecutor? Did he say the police? Whom did he say?
The prosecutor, yes.
Okay. Did he mention him by name or just as the prosecutor?
I honestly don't remember because it wasn't that significant at that point. I remember it was the prosecutor, but I didn't pay attention that much.
Okay.
I was more surprised that he knew that I was going to be on the list.
Okay. And what time of the day, I think I asked you the day, but I neglected to ask you the time that initial text came in.
That was in the morning, 10:15.
Okay. And was that 10:15? It looks to me like 9:15 on your phone. Where were you when you received the text message?
I was in the car heading to San Diego.
Okay, so you were in California?
Yes.
Okay, and would you double check that time for us?
10 a.m.
Okay. That's when you received the first text?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I have what has been marked as Exhibits 2 and 3. They demonstrate that the filing of Mr. Searcy on the witness list occurred at 8:52 a.m. on the 15th here in Arizona, and that an email went to all the parties at 8:54, also on January 15th. I would ask that they be marked as exhibits as well.
Mr. Marchak, do you have an exhibit?
Yes.
Exhibits 2 and 3 are exhibits?
Mr. Searcy, I know you might have been reluctant to say this in a public forum, and I appreciate that. But did Mr. Hughes make any references to me or any other individuals involved in the case?
Yeah. Yes, he did.
What did he say?
I'm not going to remember exactly the wording, but basically he was paraphrasing that you were a snake and this and that, and kind of, downgrading you for the tricks that you had done, quote, supposedly, and all that. And my comment back to him is, if you were on trial for murder, I think this is the guy you'd want defending you.
Did he advise you of where this information come from? I mean, was this his own belief? Was this what the prosecutor was telling him? Do you have any knowledge from that regard?
No. I think it was I think one of the things he had said, he had said that you guys had tried to keep this off of television. Had to keep him, get this right.
Well, let me answer my specific question. Did he tell you whether this disparaging comment, did that come from information he received, or his own opinion, or the prosecutor's opinion? And I'm just asking.
I can't comment as to where that knowledge or thought came from.
Okay. Your Honor, I believe that's all the questions I have.
Cross-examination.
You did receive this text message from Chris Hughes, right?
Yes.
And at that time, when you received that text message, you agreed to talk to him, right?
I didn't agree to
Yes,
talk
you
to
know.
him. Did I
Doesn't
agree
your
to talk to
text,
him?
wait a minute, doesn't your text message says, call me later? And
Yes.
So you agreed to talk to him, didn't you?
Yes.
And then he called you, right?
Yes.
He missed a call, right? In other words, you missed a call, right?
Maybe. I
And
think
when
so.
you
And he said, no, I called him and he texted me back, said he'd call me later.
And then he called you and you missed his call, though, right? The first time, right?
Perhaps. I could check and see.
Don't need you to check. I want you to tell me what you remember right now. We can get your phone. And then after that, sir, didn't you call him back?
Yes.
And you missed him, didn't you?
Let's say yes.
Well, don't say it just to say it. That's what happened, right?
If you say so. I can look at my phone and see for sure.
I'm asking you what you know.
Well, I remember that he said he would call me later. Then he said he called me. I called him back. He sent me a text, said, I can't talk right now. I'll call you back. So there was a little bit of going back and forth there. So the precise of who called who exactly at the right moment, I'm not exactly sure, but I can read through it on my phone if you need to.
And then you called him back, and then there was a conversation, right?
Yes.
At no time did you experience any compunction about talking to him, right?
In general talking, no.
And so you did have a conversation with him, correct?
Yes.
You talked about the fact that you were both in the same business, right?
No, we didn't talk about that. We already know that.
Well, and you also talked about the fact that you were getting married. Do you remember talking about that?
Yes.
You talked about a number of other things, didn't you?
I talked about everything except about this.
Except the what?
Except about this.
Right. And at the very end of it, there was a question about what you were going to testify to, and you deferred. You said, we're not going to talk about what I'm going to say, right?
On several occasions.
And, in fact, you've attempted to call the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, haven't you?
Yeah, I tried to contact you lots of times.
And, in fact, no one from the County Attorney's Office ever returned your call, right?
Which I thought was interesting.
Yes or no?
Yes.
They did not, did they?
No, they didn't.
And you're upset about that, aren't you?
No.
Well, isn't that what you told Chris Hughes?
No.
And do you know who Abe Abdelhadi is?
Yes, I know
He
Abe.
also works for Legal Shield, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Didn't you tell him that you were upset that you had called the prosecutor's office and they hadn't returned your call?
I wouldn't say I was upset. I was surprised.
And also when you were talking to Chris Hughes about returning or calling the county attorney's office, you said something to the effect that you were upset and you were going to try to serve them. In other words, get back at them. Did you ever tell him that?
No.
And with regard to this conversation about the lawyers, that was the context about the comment involving Mr. Nermi, wasn't it?
No.
In other words, you were upset with the prosecution because they weren't calling you, right?
No.
Isn't your reputation, sir, that you want to make yourself the center of attention?
Where did you get that from?
I'm asking you a question, sir. You don't get to ask me questions.
No.
Isn't it true, sir, that you want to use this situation so that the limelight can be focused on you?
No.
Isn't it true when you go to these PPL meetings or Legal Shield meetings, whatever they are, that they don't even want you to talk because you always want to talk about yourself? Isn't that true?
No.
And in terms of this context that we're talking about, sir, involving you talking badly about the prosecution because they hadn't returned your call, that's when you asked him about Mr. Nermi, right?
I never spoke badly about the prosecution.
You were upset that they hadn't called you back,
I
right?
was not upset.
You
I
didn't
was
tell-
surprised.
And it was in this context about the prosecution not calling you back that the comment was made about Mr. Nermi, right?
No.
Isn't it true also that he never told you that he ever even had any contact with the prosecution in the last 3 years?
That's not true.
You think he's had contact with the prosecution in the last 3 years?
I only know
Yes
what
or no?
I only know what he's told me.
I want to know what you know.
Then let me tell you.
Then tell me, did he tell you he's had contact with the prosecution in the last 3 years?
Yes.
He's told you he's talked to Juan Martinez, the prosecutor.
He didn't name a name. He said he was working with the prosecutor. He said that Mr. I don't even know people's names here, but the defense attorney had tried to get him on the witness list so that he wouldn't be in the courtroom, but it backfired because the thing was televised, so he gets to see all the information. He mentioned that he was watching the television and giving you information, and that's how it came up.
So he's saying that he's talking to, according to you, he's talking to the prosecutor, Mr. Martinez. That's what you're telling us today, right?
That's what he told me.
That's what you interpreted that he told you, right?
I understand English pretty well.
And you're having problems with it today, aren't you?
Not that I know of.
Isn't it true that he never told you that he spoke to the prosecutor?
That's a double negative. No, it's not true. Yes, it is true.
So what's your answer?
No, it's not true. Yes, it is true. You asked a double negative.
Oh, that's right. And
You
I'm
state
asking
the
you to answer.
question.
Yes, please restate the question.
Did he tell you, well, do it this way, isn't it true that he never told you that he talked to the prosecutor?
Double negative.
Sir, you saying you can't answer the question as
Nothing.
phrased?
As phrased.
Please rephrase.
He told you he talked to the prosecutor?
Yes.
I don't have any other questions, thank you.
Redirect.
Just want to make it clear here for all the Leicester. Between the time you spoke with Mr. Hughes on the 15th and your testimony here today, did you talk to Mr. Martinez about that conversation?
No.
The things Mr. Martinez asked you a lot about the subject matter of your phone call with Mr. Hughes on the 15th. You recall that?
Yes.
Did you give him that information?
No.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dudley. Any other witnesses for today, Mr. Mormon?
Nothing for today, Your Honor.
All right.
His name calls Chris Hughes.
Your Honor, we did not have prior notice of Mr. Hughes being called.
Just not giving him prior notice, he didn't tell us what this hearing was about. We have Scott Judge here because we thought that's what the issue was. So I think I'm entitled to call him, he's from Salt Lake City, and if he doesn't give me notice, this is what happened.
Well, that's not true. We gave him notice of Mr. Searcy according to the court's instructions days ago. He could have responded in time for Mr. Hughes being here, and he didn't.
All right. I'm going to allow the state to call Mr. Hughes, and if you need a recess, I will give you a recess prior to cross-examination. Mr. Searcy, I'm going to ask that you wait outside, sir. The rule has been invoked, so you will need to wait outside. Thank you.
Hughes, H-U-G-H-E-S.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Please walk right around and have a seat. Proceed.
Your name?
Chris Hughes.
Where do you work?
I am founder and CEO of Personal Growth Academy, and I'm an independent contractor with Legal Shield.
And in that capacity, do you have occasion to interact with someone named Gus Searcy?
I do.
And how long have you known him?
6 years or so.
With regard to having a conversation with that individual in the recent past, did you have a conversation with him?
I did.
Let me show you some exhibits that were introduced. Did you initiate the contact by sending him a text?
I did.
With regard to that situation about sending him a text, did you have occasion to speak with the prosecutor prior to sending him that text?
No.
Did you talk to the prosecutor yesterday?
Yes.
Prior to yesterday, when was the last time that you spoke with the prosecutor?
Years ago.
How many years ago was it?
3 years ago.
And with regard to speaking to the prosecutor, have you ever had occasion in the last 3 years to place a telephone call to him?
Not one.
Have you had occasion to come visit him at his office?
No.
Any contact whatsoever in the last 3 years with the prosecutor?
No.
You did speak with him last night, though, right?
I did.
With regard to this contact with Gus Searcy, what motivated you to take a look at exhibit number 1?
Okay.
You initiated that by sending the text message, right?
Yes.
Did you send that at the request of anybody?
No.
You sent that at the request of the prosecutor?
No.
And you sent it because you heard that he was on a witness list, right?
Yes.
Who'd you hear that from?
My wife.
And she told you that, right?
She did?
And after she told you that, did she tell you to do anything?
No.
And you decided to contact him what? On your own, or because she said something, or what?
No, I was curious.
And what did you do?
I sent him a text, said, hey, I heard you're on Jodi's witness list. What's up?
And what happened after that? Were you able to talk to him?
Yeah, he texted me back and said too much to text, call me.
And did you call him back?
I did later. I told him I'd call him later, after 12:30.
And were you able to get in touch with him?
Not initially. I reached out to him, and he reached out to me, and
By reaching out, it means you called, right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then he called you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
And when was it that you were finally able to get in touch with him?
It's about considering time. We do have, given what the state is from us, another potential witness I'm checking now to see if that person is available to speak tomorrow afternoon or we can speak sometime tomorrow.
Counsel approach, please. Mr. Abdulhadi?
Yes.
This is Judge Stevens. I need you to hold on the line for just a moment. We're waiting for Mr. Nurmi, defense counsel, to return to the courtroom. The record will show Mr. Nurmi has returned to the courtroom. Mr. Abdulhadi, the clerk is going to swear you in. You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God? Mr. Martinez, you can use any microphone. He should be able to hear you.
Can I have your name first?
My full name is Ibrahim Bajat Abdulhadi, Ibrahim, middle name Bahjat, last name A, B like boy, D like David, Elhadi. I go by the nickname of Abe.
Sir, who do you work for?
I work with Legal Shield as an independent contractor.
And do you know somebody by the name of Gus Searcy?
Yes, sir.
How long have you known Gus Searcy?
Approximately 6-7 years.
And during that time, or at least recently, have you had occasion to talk to him or have him talk to you about the Jodi Arias prosecution for the murder of Travis Alexander?
Yes, but not for some time.
And with regard to that conversation, at any time did Mr. Searcy indicate to you that he had attempted to contact the prosecutor's office to provide information for them?
Yes.
And did he tell you whether or not the prosecution ever called him back?
On several occasions, he indicated to me that the prosecution did not call him back.
And what was his demeanor at the fact that the prosecution had ignored his calls?
Objection calls for speculation. This was a phone call as well.
More foundation.
You say that you've known Mr. Searcy for how long?
Approximately 6-7 years. I believe he joined the business in 2006.
And during that time, have you had occasion to see him happy?
Yes, absolutely.
Have you had occasion to see him agitated?
Yes, absolutely.
And have you had occasion to see him upset?
Yes, absolutely.
And in regard to these phone calls that went unreturned by the prosecution, what was his demeanor when he was telling you about this?
It seemed to me that he was a little surprised, a little insulted. At one point, I believe the one quote he made to me was, your guy hasn't called me yet. And there was a tone to that implied a bit of disappointment.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Mr. Nurmi, do you have any cross at this point?
No, Your Honor, I'd be asking to recess till tomorrow on these points. Just ask that, I'm a little concerned because Mr. Abdulhadi, if I'm saying that correctly, is not in our state regarding cross-examination, but I'm going to ask that so much as the court can, that he be ordered to be available for cross-examination at the time of the hearing tomorrow.
Mr. Abdulhadi, are you available tomorrow afternoon at 3:30 for cross-examination?
And Judge, that would be 2:30 p.m. his time.
Thank you. 2:30 your time.
Yes. I can email it over 2:30 Pacific time, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And you need to call back into the number where you called this morning. We'll put you back in the courtroom. Between now and then, I'm going to ask that you not discuss anything about this case or your testimony with anyone, including the media, your friends, your family members, and the attorneys on this case. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right. Is there anything else for Mr. Abdulhadi this morning?
No, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Your Honor, just to follow up on the event conference in terms of reaction to the surprise witnesses, the state has called. We do anticipate calling one more witness. She would not be available in the afternoon, is leaving town. We would ask that she be called, that we resume before with her testimony, her portion of the hearing at 10:30 tomorrow morning before she leaves town, and then we can proceed with trial from that point on. I think it should be brief.
And who is it that we are talking about?
Perhaps I'll have another witness room.
All right, counsel. 10:15 tomorrow for your witness, because I would like to start with the jury at 10:30, so we will have your witness testify at 10:15. All right. That's all for today.